others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share, and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share, and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share, and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others. Magis Southern Africa Encounter is an occasion for Ignition youths from all corners of Southern Africa who come together for 7 days to reflect, share, and celebrate life with a purpose. We're young and fully alive with a renewed sense of purpose. We share experiences that situate us in touch with God's creative vision for humanity and that awaken in us aspirations and determination, moved and supported by the Spirit of God to achieve lives of service committed to embracing the values of Ignition spirituality. We find God in all things, and as contemplatives in action, in union of minds and hearts, we endeavor to transform our communities by becoming men and women for others. At the center of this is Christ, who always teaches us to exercise care for others.
Father Leonard Peter Chitip. Let's welcome him in the name of the Father. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father, you are most welcome. So he's going to give us a keynote address, and then after that we are going to have a conversation with him. And then later on, we're going to have reports from all the countries, and then after that, we're going to discuss the Korea trip for World Youth Day. So, Father, thank you.
I'm just sharing something that came from here.
We'll give him a big hand as
So, dear friends, a very good morning to you all. And a very warm welcome. I'm sure you've already been welcomed by the host to Lusaka, Zambia for your Magis encounter for 2025, 2026. Anyway, the current Magis encounter here in Lusaka. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning, and if you don't mind, I plan to stick around until perhaps late in the afternoon, just so that we get to know one another a little bit better. So it gives me immense pleasure to address you this morning on your Magis Southern Africa encounter. I last spoke to you a little more than 3 years ago when you met in Pretoria. I don't know how many of you were at that meeting in Pretoria. So we met in Pretoria, and we haven't met since then, so it's great that we're able to meet up again. So when Father Banda asked me if I could speak to you, I was scratching my head and said, what can I really say to them? What should I talk to them? So I looked at your theme as Christ, our anchor of hope. And I thought, oh, that sounds a little bit like our Universal Apostolic preferences. I found it an inspirational thing. So then I said, okay, so how can I then perhaps offer an insight or two to kind of appreciate the theme that you've chosen for yourself and how this could be or could have any impact in your lives today. So I thought I would start by speaking like a politician. So for about 2 minutes, if you don't mind, I want to speak like a politician. So this is what politicians say when they are addressing an audience like yourselves. So they may say something like, oh, your government is committed to uplifting the welfare of the youth. Sounds familiar? This is why it has put in place policies to address the challenges youth face today. Such policies have been translated into tangible programs and activities to achieve government objectives. We've put in our budget resources to ensure that our programs and activities achieve their intended objective. We urge you to be hopeful in your government that the government will deliver. You know, such a politician might even cite an activity or other to demonstrate what he's talking about. The problem is, no one seems to know what the activity or program is about, and where it is being implemented and who's benefiting from it. For instance, here in Zambia 5 years ago, politicians went around saying, we're going to create 1 million jobs for the many millions young people who are looking for jobs. Have those jobs been created? What has been done? Are we able to assess whether or not the government is on track? So politicians tend to be long on promises, but very short on performances. Meanwhile, young people wait in vain for the promised nirvana, for the promised heaven. Poverty continues to stalk them. No one can find a decent job or anything else to earn a living. Okay. But in the meantime, politicians quite often use young people for their nefarious political ends, like engaging in political violence, etc. I'm afraid sometimes even in the church, we say similar things. Not too long ago, we held a synod for the youth in Rome, showing our commitment to addressing youth problems in the church. Every couple of years or so, youth gather in some part of the world for the World Youth Day, an event attended by the Pope himself. We just said this morning that we'll be talking about the next World Youth Day in Asia. Even in the Society of Jesus, we say that since 2019, we've committed ourselves to addressing the problems of the youth. And I quote here from our Universal Apostolic Priorities. We say we commit ourselves to accompany the youth in the creation of a hope-filled future, end of quote. Here in our province of Southern Africa, we also have another statement that shows our commitment to young people. We are committed to accompanying young people, striving to listen and learn from this. That's our province apostolic priority number 3. So you can see from these statements that there's no shortage of commitment. We truly value young people. We want to join with them. We want to empower them. We want to help them to grow into responsible citizens. We even want to provide jobs and other things that will make them happy. But what has become of all these wonderful sound bites? It's something that you and I could explore a little later in this session. But let me move on to just provide a few personal anecdotes that I've come across in recent times. Just a few days ago, as often happens this time of the year in this part of the world, you may have seen around here as we walk around, parents coming here, meeting our school officials. A mother called me and asked if I could get her a place in a Catholic boarding school. Apparently, he had not done well enough to go to the school that the parents wanted him to go to. So when I probed further with the mother why the child had not performed as well as expected, the mother told me that the young man was distracted by engaging in a business of selling and buying clothes online. The reason is his parents were not able to provide him with the clothes that he wanted. And he's only 12 years old. So he's able to make money for himself by exploiting and using opportunities available through internet and communication technology. A second anecdote, perhaps of a positive one, is that some of you who may be from Malawi will know that we have a camp for refugees, a JRS camp for refugees, Zambia, just north of Zimbabwe. So I was visiting there a few weeks ago, and they were showing me around the different activities that go on there. One of the things that they do is they train some of these young refugees into ICT-related skills. And so I asked them, these people you train, number one, they cannot be absorbed into normal Malawian society, which means they cannot get jobs. So what do they do with these skills? So I thought, well, quite a number of them have found business opportunities by using the skills that they have gained from the education that they are receiving. And these business enterprises are earning a living. I cite these two anecdotes just to pose a challenge to you. And the question I ask from these two anecdotes is this: how can we help young people explore and exploit opportunities that are there but not so readily apparent? Do we help our youth think and act outside the box? I know it's a cliche, thinking and acting outside the box. But if you go back to that introductory comment I made about politicians, if they tell you we're going to provide you with the jobs you need, if they tell you we're going to provide you with universities where you can go to college and get a college education, and then they don't, what is left for you? What is left for you? I think those two anecdotes, just two simple examples, perhaps are pointing us in an interesting direction. I was reading not too long ago that because of the emergence of AI, in the not too distant future, people will no longer have to go to a physical building to work. In other words, there will be no need for working in a way, because we can use the tools available through AI to earn a living, just like these two examples that I have given you. So again, I'm hoping that towards the end of this session, we can together perhaps begin to brainstorm, to exchange ideas on how best we can support one another without relying on the normal channels of getting on in life. And now that brings me to say one or two things about the Magis movement. Yesterday, I was chatting to a few people familiar with the Magis movement to pick their brains about what I could possibly say to you. So let me use some of the things that I learned from this conversation yesterday. So we began by talking about Magis as a service to young people who subscribe to Ignatian spirituality. We recall that the Society of Jesus offers this space not only to accompany young people as they navigate their way into adulthood, but to help them grow in their faith as well. Then the conversation moved to seeing Magis as a network of youth programs or youth groups, sometimes operating in the same space of a parish. One thing that became quickly clear is that Magis is not a group like other groups, say in a parish. It is a sort of umbrella organization that brings young people together. You all know its origins in the late 1990s, when it operated as a sort of counterpart to the World Youth Day. It originated in France and then spread all across the globe, frequently organizing meetings around the World Youth Day, like the last one in Portugal. Unfortunately, Magis is seen and experienced differently even in our own province. In some places, it has been introduced as a separate youth group, which it is not. In the majority of cases, it is seen as an elitist movement associated with those who have the means to travel in different parts of the world to attend the World Youth Day. As I've already suggested above, it cannot be another youth group. It shouldn't be an elitist group. What then has happened along the way? Only you can tell me. For my part, I want to reiterate that Magis is not and should not be seen as elitist. I rather like the notion of it being a service to any young person who wishes to deepen their faith following Ignatian spirituality. In this vein, I would like to appeal to you to re-examine the notion of Magis and revisit its operations. I can understand why some parish priests are hostile to the Magis. I can also understand why some youth shun activities organized by Magis. In any case, given the churches and our own appreciation of the imperative of being by the side of young people, it does not serve any purpose if we are seen to be dividing and ruling. The service the Society of Jesus can offer young people in line with the Universal Apostolic Preference number 3 and our own Province Apostolic Plan is to create a space where you can encounter Jesus, who is truly the anchor of your hopes and our hopes. The Society of Jesus essentially does this in a variety of ways, but chief amongst those is the experience of the spiritual exercises. The spiritual exercises, as you know, can be made in a variety of ways to suit individuals concerned. For us as a Society of Jesus, the exercises is a critical space of encounter with Christ, who transforms us from within and empowers us to find our rightful place in society. And I think this is where I can locate your theme for your encounter this way. Your encounter today. Have you found Jesus in your life? Can you find Jesus in your life? And if you can you make him the foundation of your life? Can you organize your life, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations around Jesus Christ, who in any case you have chosen to be the anchor of your life? The Society of Jesus, through Magis and other pastoral activities, values your talents, your time, and your energies. I suppose the question that can be asked again is, how have we leveraged your talents, your energies, and your time? How can we strive to help you to make Christ the anchor of your hopes? Again, remember what politician says to you. Remember what he as our priest said to you. We committed to you and will help you. But the reality says something different. Suppose the theme that we've chosen for your council today can only remind us that the true anchor of our lives can be Jesus Christ. And therefore, the first step in any endeavor for you and for me is to meet Christ on a daily basis. Of course, you know how to meet Christ, and I'm not going to go through that, otherwise it becomes a categorical lesson. But the question that can be asked again is, have you found a way? Have you found a reason? Have you found a path to Christ? And are you following that path diligently in order to strengthen your commitment and relationship with Christ, who becomes your anchor for your hope? Let me now come back to our Province Apostolic Plan. I have a copy of it here with me, and I'd like to refer to a few things in that plan. In our province, we have domesticated Universal Apostolic number 3 into a priority that places its premium on listening and learning from you. So if I can just read from the plan. So this plan was developed over 2 years and was approved about 2 years ago, 2 years ago. And priority number 3 states the following: to accompany the youth, striving to listen and to learn from them. So we've got 5 priorities. I'll just quickly run through them. The first priority of the province is to nurture vocations and prioritize the formation of Jesuits and partners of mission. The second one is to consolidate works and communities while exploring new frontiers, showing the way to God by sharing our nations spirituality. And then number 3 is the one that relates to you, directly to you. So I'll skip it for now, but I'll come back to it in a second. Number 4 is to hear the cries of the earth and the poor on our shared pilgrimage, challenging unjust structures and advocating for their common empowerment. And finally, but by no means the least, caring for our health and those of our community. So let's return to the priority that concerns you directly. Priority number 3, to accompany the youth, striving to listen and learn from them. And then it has a number of sub-points, so I'll just read them to you, and then just see what you make of them. 3.1. This priority focuses on accompanying and learning from the youth so that we can best respond to their needs. This priority focuses on accompanying and learning from the youth so that we can best respond to their needs. 3.2. Please listen carefully because I'd like to get some views from you. We will empower Jesuits and lay partners by forming them for effective youth ministry. This involves training individuals passionate about pastoral work with young people, exposing them to Ignatian spirituality, and addressing social issues like education, racism, and environmental care. We will empower Jesuits and lay partners by forming them for effective youth ministry. This involves training individuals passionate about pastoral work with young people, exposing them to Ignatian spirituality, and addressing social issues like education, racism, you can add unemployment, if you will, and environmental care. 3.3. Youth programs will be developed to support young people facing trauma, poverty, and substance abuse, offering tools for behavioral change and hope for the future. Again, going back to the theme that you selected for yourself, the theme of hope, but that hope is anchored on Christ. Youth programs will be developed to support young people facing trauma, poverty, and substance abuse, offering tools for behavioral change and hope for the future. 3.4. The creation of physical spaces such as Magis clubs will facilitate engagement and support. The creation of physical spaces such as Magis clubs will facilitate engagement and support. And number 5. Establishing a youth fund through donations which will support these initiatives. Additionally, Jesuits will create networks with established organizations to provide professional assistance to young people in Southern Africa. Establishing a youth fund through donations will support these initiatives. Additionally, Jesuits will create networks with established organizations to provide professional assistance to young people in Southern Africa. How many people have seen this booklet before? How many people? So only one person. Can you confirm that what I have read is what you understand as the province's commitment to young people?
To an extent.
Can you elaborate?
Well, there's still many things that need to be actualized and done, but you can see in some of the things that are being done, like the Service Commission, you've got the Train Our Trainers program that's currently going on, so there's a lot in there, but then you can see that the steps are being made towards the actualization.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'd like us to return to that in just a minute. So the key question we can ask ourselves today, okay? So I'll skip that. So what I really want to do is that, so we have that province apostolic priority number 3 for you. We outlined a number of ways or steps that we feel we can, there's an English word I don't know how to pronounce. But again, it's very common in development. It's called to operationalize. Maybe today I managed. So the number of steps that are given in that booklet to put into operation, that's another way of putting it, those steps. Okay? But more importantly is the fact that in our province setup, we have a youth delegate who, in a way, is responsible for driving that agenda. So for those who are not really familiar with the way we are organized as Jesuits, the world over, so the Society of Jesus is like a multinational organization with headquarters in Rome. So think of Coca-Cola. It's a multinational organization with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. So our headquarters are in Rome, and our head is called Father General, who has visited Southern Africa before. And then for administrative purposes, the Church of Jesus is organized in provinces, like our province, Southern Africa. And the head is a provincial. But the provincial is just 1 month, so he needs people to support him in his work. So he has appointed delegates for particular ministries or particular sectors. So the youth, as I've suggested in my comments, are very high on our agenda, are very high on our list of priorities. So we have appointed a youth delegate. And in a way, his brief is to actualize what you just heard. And so now that brings me to the part where I wanted to listen to you, because that priority essentially says, we accompany you, that's why you have a youth delegate, but we strive to listen and to learn from you. So I suppose the first place to begin from, okay, only one person is familiar with what's in here, but what do you make of what I just read for you that pertains to our province apostolic priority number 3? So in a way, I'm trying to actualize or operationalize this apostolic priority by